Well, welcome back everybody to our online program, and we've been talking about addiction in the media. And mainly because of the opioid crisis. And one of the things that seems to stand out with all of these people talking about addiction is that the stigma of addiction is very powerful. It's well known from research studies that the stigma is a real barrier to people asking for help. You could just imagine, say, a mother would feel a great deal of shame, right, if she were to actually admit she had a problem with drugs. Or somebody who, somebody goes to work every day and just can't bring themselves to admit they have a problem and ask for help. Or in our downtown east side, in British Columbia's downtown east side, where we're having a lot of fentanyl overdoses, one of the things they've discovered is that the overdoses are typically behind closed doors because people want to hide away. People don't want to let anyone know that maybe they're using drugs. So the stigma is very powerful, and we see this in the media. It's presented. We know that, for example, that the stigma is so powerful that even medical professionals have fallen prey to it. There's research now that the way medical doctors or nurses treat people with addictions is like there's this real bias. Even though they're trained that addiction is a medical condition, they still, not all of them, of course, but they still struggle with this idea that, well, maybe these people just have a medical condition and we'll just help them like we would help someone with a heart attack or diabetes or some other condition, right? And it's curious that in the media, we even noticed that Terry Lake, who was the minister of British Columbia's Ministry of Health, where when the fentanyl crisis was growing, he was the minister who went to Ottawa to try to get more money from the feds, essentially. But he talked to reporters, right, and he made this really interesting comment. And here's the comment. He actually said that fentanyl was such a pernicious drug that even non-addicted people were overdosing and dying from it. Okay, and this is what he told the media. I don't want to sound alarmist, but these are everyday people that are dying because of fentanyl. People think they're doing a recreational drug. And they're not what we would consider criminals. They're high-functioning, regular people in many cases, and they're dying. If you think about this, so if these non-addicted, high-functioning, regular people are dying from fentanyl overdoses, what about those who are actually addicted to opioids? By Lake's logic, then they must be criminals, low-functioning, and not like you and me. Now, in fairness to Terry Lake, that was a very unusual comment for him to make. But I think it shows how easily it is for people, even the BC Minister of Health, to actually slip into become prey of the addiction. And I read constantly in the media about addicts, drug abusers, these terms, right? These terms have been shown in research to support the stigma. So it's kind of curious, right? All these things that we know from research are supporting the stigma, and yet even the journalists, even the media people are still using these terms, and that stigma is still very powerful, even in all the radio, newspaper, and internet blogs. Anyway, that's this episode. We'll be back next time with our final episode on addiction in the media.